So welcome to a new episode of Matnum. So like every month, I'm going to talk about digital matter, basically computational photography through the lens of my own apps and algorithms. So let's start directly with those three pictures. The first one on the left, that's DarkCam, which uses basically the same engine as the other three apps, Camare, Vika, and Digital Paula. And I thought what I found interesting was this first photo was basically, that's my work desk one night when I was developing one of my insaturators, basically the one I'm testing here, CaneSwo, a new insaturator, which I've talked about last month already. I just thought it was interesting to see how this came out and why I like this photo, because there's some ambiance. There's a link between the kind of technical mess I have on my desk and the code I'm creating and the way it reflects in the picture. What I thought also was interesting, this month I'm not really going to talk technical things because I didn't really advance on that front, but we're going to look at some of the pictures I've taken with the apps in which I've selected. I tend to try to look at finding a new idea about monochromatic photos. I talked about it last month, either monocolor or black and white. Then I thought those two other pictures here taken with Camare was this very specific 1:2 format, which I like, the ratio. I kind of like this monocolor kind of purpley view on the Reykjavik Bay, or this street scene basically, with the blurriness on this figure in the middle of nowhere and the blue. So that's basically the result of one of my insaturators. But I thought that could be maybe some leads for some new algorithms or new insaturators. Again, the insaturators, it's this first layer that really touches the image when it comes out of the sensor, while the filmulator is some kind of end modification and treatment of the image, which gives it more grain or more contrast or some kind of texture. Here again, that's also again with insaturator and filmulator applied to one image. That's CaneSwo again with this characteristic band-like, vertical band-like treatment of colors. I thought that was an interesting picture, actually, a small detail of the street, kind of blurry, but sort of, I don't know, it tells a story, and I think that's where digital photography starts becoming a little bit like film photography, where the material that comes out, the matter, the textures, the richness of the way the image, the real life image is reproduced, how the photons are reproduced, it becomes interesting. Here again, three pictures in random mode on one of my apps. Most of the pictures in this month are going to be in Iceland. I kind of like the snow, and I wanted also to look at the contrast between small light sources and dark places. So here are three examples which I found interesting, with snow in the city, the darkness, but also those points, that sort of those light points that sort of shine in different places and focalize our attention on certain parts of the picture. I thought it was interesting. And again, it's the way the color is represented is kind of, there's a limitation of the palette of colors in those examples. Which is really giving me maybe some lead to something upcoming for new algorithms. Here again, black and white. I kind of think I should do something in black and white for the future, a new module which is black and white. And I think this light in the middle of the trees kind of reflects what kind of matter I would like coming out from it. But at the same time, I kind of like here the two other examples on this page are with CaneSwo, this new insaturator, maybe focalizing on the monocolor side of things could be interesting. And this insaturator tends to really create that monocolor effect in very low light situation where it analyzes. It doesn't come from nowhere. It analyzes actually the underlying image to reach the conclusion it should color it that way. That's my secret sauce. Here also again, looking at For example, in the picture on the left, that's the harbor, the harbor in Reykjavik with snow. Basically, the original scene is kind of monochromatic. There's lots of blue, the sea, the sky, and lots of white, the snow. But I thought, yeah, maybe something could be found there because some parts of the image is treated like with desaturation. So we have a mix between black and white and monochromatic, monocolor representation of the scene. Or those two pictures on the right, that's the same picture using cane swope. Just here I thought would be interesting also. That's during a blizzard, during a sunny sky blizzard in Reykjavik. I thought it was interesting just to show that all of my modules integrate variators. So you can actually variate some of the effect. You don't really know what's going on. I know, but you don't as a user. And it can be very subtle. So for example, here there's a very subtle change in the variator, and suddenly you have this big blue band that appears because the treatment, the underlying analysis of the image is definitely not the same, and wow, you reach a level and there's this blue band coming out. I thought it was interesting. That's using the experimental editor of Camare. So once the picture is taken. Here, the picture on the left is probably with Digital Paula, an abstract using the random mode of the image generator. I kind of like abstract images too. The texture, the color transformation, all with what goes on there, makes it for me something interesting. It's an interesting image for me. The two pictures on the right, that's scenes in Reykjavik too, in the city of Reykjavik. Those are photos that I actually used for illustrations of some music albums in electro. But yeah, anyways. Here we continue in this visiting of the photos I took using my apps, so computational photography. I kind of like blurry pictures, and I think the picture on the left is kind of interesting. It's basically, that's the Bay of Reykjavik. Sun is on the mountains in the background, and actually the focus is completely off, and I think that's what makes this picture interesting. This 4x4 with huge wheels is kind of mysterious, kind of looks weird. And there's something in this picture, I thought I would select it. And it also gave me the idea that I've already talked about it, but I think I should add some manual focus control beyond the simple locking focus mechanism I have now on Camare. Maybe to have more of a preset focus control. But yeah, otherwise, the two other pictures, again, in random mode, I kind of like those small details in the middle, this sort of caddy on top of a snow mound. Or the baths in the west neighborhood of Reykjavik, the building from the hot baths. I thought was interesting with this sunset. Or yeah, again, I also like concert photography. For those who've seen the previous video, the serial video where I work with with more traditional cameras. Here on the left, that's Kraftgali, a fantastic electronic musician that plays live at a small place which is named Mengi. Or on the right, that's two images I thought it was interesting to catch the gist of the ambiance of a place which is named Radar, which is devoted to electronic music, dance music, and has some interesting representations graphically, either because of the screens or the lighting, but also the public is interesting. And there are two pictures coming from that place. Here's three pictures. I really previous months I've focused a little bit on dark places, high contrast, focal light sources, and here we can see those clouds in the image on the left and the right. I thought it was interesting. The treatment height came out. There are lots of digital granularity, but makes it quite analog actually in some ways. Definitely the picture in the middle, that's very digital. That's one of my insaturators that actually increases the zones of artifact in the color coding of the image. Anyways, I'm not going to go too much into the detail, but I thought it was an interesting image that's early morning in darkness, and I kind of liked the result. Or for those who've seen the previous video, the serial video, that's during, it's something that's an event that's named Upraising. It's every month or so. And basically you have new musics, basically rock, hip-hop, electro, that are presented in live settings in the Reykjavik Opera. And here I thought that really this treatment, this computational photography treatment in my apps really gives another aspect of the ambiance of the concert. The pictures I had taken for the serial video, they're in black and white. Here the color is really strongly enhanced in a very different way. And I think, yeah, it's really the computational photography tool, which is the smartphone, can be really very creative in that sense and really get to something quite analog in the final result. Here again, the high contrast, 3 photos where I play with high contrast, punctual light sources, dark zones in the front, the sun, or a specific light source on the right. I thought they were interesting. That's just pictures I kind of selected because I liked them from last month, maybe giving me some ideas for the future directions of my new code. 3 more pictures here, a cat in a window on the left. That's a real cat. I thought those 3 pictures are interesting because the 2 on the left, there's a mix between distorting the color maps and in some parts the geometry, creating new patterns or new pseudo distorted geometries, or this kind of duplication, shadow ghosting image on the middle image, or definitely this kind of protruding center on the picture on the right, and distorting in a circular manner. Here also talking about reducing the color palettes, I thought was interesting. That's the picture before that was in the Bienne region in Switzerland, the one on the right. Here it's Geneva, the touristy famous Rade de Genève, with this Geneva fountain by a nice night with a cloudy sky. I thought it was interesting because the color palette is really reduced, but at the same time you have all those artifacts that I had created with a filmulator that's actually recreating the color artifacts on older CCDs when pushed in high ISO, low light. And I thought it was an interesting way to see this scene, this panoramic scene. Anyhow. And here are 2 last pictures. That's back to Iceland in the snow. Again, to show how analog computational photography can be, depending on how you treat it, so how many layers of treatment you put. And here what's most interesting is more than simply the scene itself. It's all the hidden aspects, what's behind the footsteps on the picture on the left, and this shadow is actually mine, but what's going on here if we start thinking about something else, another story that I would tell through the picture, or this view on this red lit building in the middle of nowhere, and this scooter on front, electric scooter on front. What does it say? Anyway, not much of code this month. Hopefully that was still entertaining. I kind of let you openly view the pictures I kind of liked using my apps. Maybe we'll give you more ideas for next month when I hopefully will find new ways to code. But yeah, hopefully that was entertaining. You may have questions, comments, or suggestions, so don't hesitate to post them below, and catch you next time.